How do I hit it 10 yards further? Concentrate on this right knee, try and hold that in position, and then pull the left shoulder away from that. That's your two thoughts. Hold the right knee, pull the left shoulder away.
It just is a little more easier just to get down in front of me and then more consistent.
Move the muscle to move the arm. What do they all do? They turn, and that's not moving the muscle. So I'm saying, no, the muscle, the bone stays, the muscle moves, the muscle moves. Club moves straight down. That's it, that's it.
The most important thing, I think, for the amateurs is getting the right amount of loft on the club for them, because there's too many clubs on the market these days which, you know, won't suit them. These drivers which only have 7 degrees of loft, very big for the ego, but very difficult to use. So the important thing is to get enough loft to suit your game, because remember, what we're trying to do is get the ball into the air, try and get a little bit of draw flight to it, which is then going to help the ball release to get maximum distance, right? So let's now go and tee one up. Now, a question I'm often asked by amateurs is, how high should you tee the golf ball? Now, as a golden rule, what I would do is try and get half the ball above the club head. But quite often, by changing that can really help you. On a hole, when I've got trouble down the left, I would tee it a little bit lower. And also then, in the wind, a lot of people believe teeing it low will help you to keep the ball down. What can often happen is the opposite. You tee it low, you get a little steep on it, then the ball will get up into the air and be affected by the wind. So try this as a tip. Tee it up a little bit higher. Then that other little, I guess, quirk I have in my swing that I use is I always lift the driver off the ground, because what that helps is enhances a nice, smooth, wide takeaway. Obviously, if you've got it down, I often feel taken away on the grass, I might bump into something, catch it, and it loses the tempo. So what I'm trying to do is get that nice, smooth takeaway, because what that will help is the wind up, and then you can accelerate. If you jerk it away, you're going to lose your tempo. Now, the other thing everybody always asks is, how do I hit it 10 yards further? So what I would do is get that smooth takeaway, wind it up, and at the top of the backswing, I want you to concentrate on this right knee, try and hold that in position, and then pull the left shoulder away from that. That's your two thoughts. Hold the right knee, pull the left shoulder away, then you're going to get that sort of powerful resistance, those two forces working against each other. So you watch this. Little above the ball, solid knee, and unwind it. Solid knee, and unwind it. Hold the right knee, pull the left shoulder away.
The control element in the golf swing are the shoulder movement. I ask a lot of players, I say, right, get your shoulder loaded for the golf swing. Right arm up, shoulders loaded, and I say, right, now move the muscle to move the arm. What do they all do? They turn, and that's not moving the muscle. So I'm saying, no, the muscle, the bone stays, the muscle moves, the muscle moves.
Pull the left shoulder away.
So really, if I get the control in the muscle, both left and right, correctly, then I'm going to get the movement correct with my arms, which will have hold of the implement that I'm going to hit the ball with. Then what we're saying is, it's to your own muscle. It's to your own muscle. You know, if you're muscle bound like my son, they won't be able to get it past there. But you lads could be able to, you know, get it a little bit higher and actually what we call load the muscles correctly. Your shoulder goes at right angle, and that's your shoulder muscle loaded up at right angles here. Then we leave the bone alone and we move the muscle. So if this is the club face up there and I move the muscle, what do I have to do with the club face to square it up? Nothing. But if you're up here and you turn, now unfortunately I've got to get the club down. So then I'm trying to manipulate all the way through.
Pull the left shoulder away from that. That's your two thoughts. Hold the right knee, pull the left shoulder away, then you're going to get that sort of powerful resistance, those two forces working against each other.
Rehearse the movement again. Really coil up. Reposition for delivery. Whatever delivery we're getting. That's it. If you make that delivery position your own, I mean, you can pressurize the shot how you want, left to right, right to left. You can do what you want from there.
I have been on tour in a while, so correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you go to a shorter driver?
Yeah, so I went to a shorter shaft at the start of last year.
Okay.
Yeah, so just a little more control. I probably hit it out of the middle of the face a little bit more as well.
And
more
smash
consistent.
factor went up, but you still get the same distance with a shorter driver, with more control.
Yeah, more control.
Yeah.
Yeah. You actually don't swing it that much slower either. I mean,
I find you don't.
Yeah.
But what was your miss with, let's say, a longer driver? Heel or?
So I think the longer driver, when I got up to the top and it was long, it would just want to fall behind me.
Drop, yeah.
Yeah, and then I'd miss it both ways.
Yep.
I'd either push it right or I'd hit this like
slinger
big
left.
slinger
yeah.
left. Yeah. So I feel like with this little bit of a shorter shaft, I can keep the club just a little more in front of me on the way down.
Like your wrist locked in more from the top to the bottom.
Yeah. It just is a little more easier just to get down in front of me. And then
So your hips move down, that's it. And your club moves straight down. That's it, that's it. That's it. Now you're matching your hips. That's it. So your arm pressure moves your hips better. Your hips are moving your arms.
Hold the right knee, pull the left shoulder away.
That's it. But you can't do it here. You can't hit enough balls. You just have to do that. Drill it, drill it, drill it, drill it. Because you want his hips to move this way. Move this way.
The preset drill, this is probably my first drill I ever did. It's obviously one of my favourites because what it did for me was really give me some confidence on my backswing. When I was working so hard in changing my swing, I needed something, I needed a boost. So when I got to the top of the swing, I knew I was in the right position. So let me show you how you do this, and it's got to be done absolutely correctly to get the full benefit out of it. So we take our normal address position. I've teed the ball up for these exercises because striking the ball is not the most important thing here. We want to learn to teach the body these new positions. So take my address. Now what I'm going to do is set my hands here without moving them backwards, right the way to the full set position, and you can see two important things. One, the shaft is exactly in line with the one on the ground there, and it's also exactly horizontal. Now if we go to this sort of position then start to turn, it's going to be incorrect. Or if we pull it too much inside, incorrect again. These are absolute musts, and from here I can see this one quite clearly, and the horizontal one may take a little bit of time to double check, but once you get the feel of this one being parallel to the ground, you've got it. So set the wrist there, and all we have to do now is just continue turning. Just turn those shoulders, left shoulder under, and look at that. That's the best top of the backswing position you're ever going to be in your life. Absolutely spot on. So let's bring it back down again. So we wind it up simply with the shoulders turning, moving the weight to the right. We've got it absolutely spot on. Now what we will do is hit it from that position. We will set it to there, check everything for a split second, turn and release. Turn and release. turn and release.
Got this one little drill that I do that's been helping me quite a bit. And if you see me warm up hitting balls, most of my shots I'll do this drill, and just to teach my body where my hand should be.
The right hip has to go up and back on itself, not just turn. We lose the power if we do that. So up. And then because you've loaded this way, what happens then on the downswing, the spring loading becomes obviously the unloading. Down, around, and through.
And then when you come back, that spring action that you've developed, you can just almost let it go and it'll come right back into the ball. It's like taking a rubber band and just turning it, and now with absolutely no effort, I can just let it go and I'll hit the ball a long way. My right side is tucked that way pretty good. Got in here. You don't want to leave your right side in front of you. You're dead if you do that. You want that right side to go that way. Hip, shoulder, get deep here, get deep here. They won't load at all, and they just take it back like this and hit it. They try to hit it with all arms, so you end up with all arms because they never did load. Or let me show what loading is. What I think loading is you get your head here, and you see the angle your knee is in? You should have a little angle here. And when you load properly in the golf swing is you brace this leg here, and when you go back, watch this, you drive while you're turning off the ball, and that knee should be on every shot, I believe, pretty much right over the top of that right foot. That means you've made a weight shift and you've loaded up. And when you get to the top of your backswing, that knee ought to feel like it's going to bust, and you should get a lot of crease in your pants right here. If you're going back and there's no tension in that knee or that upper part of your leg, you have not loaded and you're missing out on a lot of easy power, okay?
And without using a club, just standing there, just remember pushing the right pocket back. I call it the RPB shot. What we do is move this pocket straight back. You see, just push it back like that. Keep the knee in the same position and push the pocket back. And see what happens? You're automatically getting a hip turn. Without any conscious movement of your hips like that, you can go bang like that, we got hip turn. Simple as that.
It's not just a turn and a turn. And the reason it's not a turn and a turn is because if I turn, I'm trying to find the club position. If I work the body and move the club with me, the club moves through those positions very, very easily.
The killer things you get in the golf swing, and I see it among amateurs, is that they sway past the top of the knee. They'll go up here, and then they stay, and of course you're going to hit way behind it or top it or hit a dead left or hit a wimpy slice. And watch your shadow with the sun behind you, and while another guy's hitting or something, you can practice some swings. Try to work and stay as still as you can, but make sure you load. Don't get so still that you just take it back like that. Make sure you have a definite move into that side here. If somebody bet you there was a sheetrock there, and if you didn't put your hand through the sheetrock, it'd cut your hand off. You would set up so solidly, you would go back like Peter Jacobson solidly. When you came up to that wall, you boom like that, and you want to take a photo of that, of where you are to push that hand through that sheetrock, and you'll notice your hips need to be this much open, your shoulders need to be this much open, your elbow needs to be right here, your wrist needs to be straight right there. That is the most powerful boom position you can get in golf, and you'll do it every time if you think about the sheetrock thing. You know, people say, well, where should my hips be, or where should I be when I hit the ball? If you just think, I got to put it through, otherwise they cut my hand off, I guarantee you'll be in that perfect position where your arms are catching up to the body, and right about right here, now you're ready to make a good penetrating whoom, and hit that wall. If you watch when you hit the wall, you have to go, you get about right here and then it's whoom. So it's in this area that the body really comes alive. It's sort of settling in about right here into a squat position, into a squat position.
When you hit the ball and use your legs and your body, it's like if you were to hit a person like that, you wouldn't hurt him, but if you hit it and follow it with your weight, then you get that little extra length that you're looking for. Now take the club up like this, put it back up here in that manner there, and then you go from there. Take the club up like this, put it back up here in that manner there, and then you go from there. Now the legs play an important part in your swing. As when you hit the ball and use your legs and your body, it's like if you were to hit a person like that, you wouldn't hurt him, but if you hit it and follow it with your weight,
getting the hips to go this way, pressure down, arms match, body turn, and make it very simple. This way, pressure down, arms match, body turn, and make it very simple. So your hips move down, that's it, and your club moves straight down. That's it, that's it, that's it. Now you're matching your hips, that's it, that's it. So your arm pressure moves your hips better. Your hips are moving your arms. Yeah. So you've got to do that in the gym. That's it. But you can't do it here. You can't hit enough balls. You just have to do that. Drill it, drill it, drill it, drill it. Because you want his hips to move this way. Move this way.
at the moment of impact, you feel like that you have a hammer in your hand. Instead of hitting the nail on the head there, you're hitting the nail in the back in that manner.
Your thumb starts at the ball. Doesn't matter what kind of grip you have, that thumb is going to point at the ball. And when you go back, everybody's way over here, and you're coming down here. And boy, this thumb now has got a lot of work to do to get back to that ball when you get down in here. So you got to know that it doesn't keep staying here. If your thumb hangs back here, pointing there, you're going to be a slicer, a push slicer. You got to know that a lot of the power in golf comes from the thumbs here, and then in just this much time, it goes whoom, and the club moves 5 feet. That's where the pros get all that power you don't see, is because the average amateur gets up here and he comes down here and he goes like this. There's no crossover power, where a lot of pros like a Tiger Woods will get down here real deep, or Hogan, Ben Hogan, real here, and then in just one little flash they go whoosh, and they get all that crossover power. That's where a lot of the power comes, by taking that thumb, getting it back to square at impact, and it squares up, it stays square for about that long, and then it releases and you cross over, and it squares up, it stays square for about that long, and then it releases and you cross over.
So if you see how I straighten up, my left arm becomes straight, the club starts to straighten up at the mode of impact, and doing that you can keep the ball on a direct line. I'll have to try that sometime.
on impact, the elbow is right against that right hip. The knee is driven in. This knee's solid, and you've penetrated there. Nice straight left arm here. Face is square if you want to hit it straight. And then what you want to do here is figure out a way to penetrate through the ball. Penetrate. Watch. This is a good little drill here to just do that. Penetrate through there, and as soon as you get past your left leg, this is a key position here, square. Keep the face square a long time. Not a lot of timing involved. I don't believe in this stuff right here at impact. In other words, when it comes down, it squares up, it stays square for about that long, and then it releases and you cross over. Watch what happens at impact here. If you're coming right down here, this is a neutral position right here. If you keep pulling and nothing happens, do you see what you end up with? So somewhere in here on a normal neutral grip, and I haven't altered the club face because some people are dead shut at the top, like Lee Trevino when he was younger. He would start here, just so you know it, and at the top, watch this, he would take the club back here, and that's where he is, and you see where the club face is if he doesn't change anything? So for him, he doesn't have to do what I'm going to teach you now. But for those of you that grip the club normal, take it to the top, which is still square, by the way. Do you see this? It's still square, the club's still square. Somewhere in here, something has got to change. You cannot keep pulling and moving, it's just not going to draw. So what you have to do, watch in slow motion what happens with the hand action. Just focus in the hand. You get right here to hip high, elbows on the side. And when you draw it, you come right down here. Watch this area right here. You get right in here. There's just a little that. It's like that. And that's the Hogan move. He didn't really want to talk about. He called it supination. He was talking more on the left hand about that. But that right hand gets in here, and instead of palming up, and a lot of people, they get here and they hit up on it, and you see where the palm is? This is death. This is hit behind it, top it, hit it to the right, add loft, go nowhere type of action, okay? What the pros do is they get in here, and this hand goes back to square, which is on the wall now. It looks like it's over, but it's not. It's on the wall. And if you want to draw the ball, you actually almost have to cover more, and that's put in that position there. So right here, I'm neutral, and then the elbow still stays in tight. This is important. And the elbow still stays in tight. This is important.
Gripping the club, I grip this club as light as if I had a baby chicken in my hand, that I wouldn't squeeze it too tightly.
The way I like to teach grip pressure is this. Simply take the club, put the club straight up in the air where it's lightest, and then let the club drop through your hands like this. Then put the club back in your hands, proper grip. Then reduce your grip pressure until just before it drops. And then take the club and just take it to horizontal like this. You will feel an increase of grip pressure in your last 3 fingers of your left hand and the middle 2 fingers of the right hand just by doing that. That's as much grip pressure as you need holding onto the golf club.
But now, if you were to grip the club too tight at your dress, as a rule, you will open up your hands at the top of the backswing, and then you decrease in your downward swing, which causes a whole lot of trouble.
You have to hold the club with enough pressure to control it, but don't strangle the club, because the result of that is that you will create too much tension on the forearms, and what happens, you will lose the club speed.
The backswing at the top of your backswing should be pointed toward your line of flight. Now we call this a layoff when the club is pointing back behind me. Now when you come across the line up here in this manner, you're apt to hook more. That's not very good either. So in swinging a club and getting your grip proper at the top of the backswing, a good thing is for you to bring the club up in front of you in this manner, cock your wrist, and then move them back up in position. Now if you can do that, now you know then you're ready to really put the club square on the ball and on your intended line of flight. I remember playing with Dan Topping, who was part owner of the Yankees, saying that he had the shank so bad that he had shank-proof clubs built. And on his backswing, he would lay the club off in this manner. That is very bad, because then when you start your downswing, the club comes out over your intended line and hitting the ball into the heel of the club, which makes it go squirting off to the right. And so I said to him, I said, Dan, you must have your right hand up on top of your left hand in this manner, so that your hands come back inside. And I said, now take the club up like this, put it back up here in that manner there, and then you go from there. And you know, he played golf all year in this manner. He played the best golf he'd played in 10 years. Your head is the hub to the swing, and it should remain in the same position till after you have struck the ball. It can turn, but it cannot go back and forth and up and down.
Sam Snead was a perfect example of keeping his head dead still, turning it around, the base of his neck. One of the things I use when I'm trying to teach keeping the spine angle consistent or keeping it the same angle is a white coat hanger. Very simple. What you do, you bend it up, you make a little hole at the top of it there, stick it in the ground, then position it so that you're looking through the hole at the golf ball. When you make your backswing, that ball should be still in the hole like that. When you're making in the downswing, it should be still in the hole like that. What's that do? It helps promote you turning your shoulders perpendicular to your spine and around and through on the same plane. Sam Snead was a perfect example of keeping his head dead still, turning it around, the base of his neck. Now let's try to hit this ball.
Now your balance is so important that if your head stays there, consequently you will have a nice finish. Now starting this, the club is a palm and finger grip, starting from the first joint of the forefinger, coming here to the base of the little finger with the plug in sticking out and the heel on top. The thumb placed on the club is about 1 o'clock. The V pointing over the right shoulder. Now in reaching down, just like you were shaking hands with the club, it's entirely a finger grip. It's way down in your fingers. Now when you overlap the forefinger with the little finger, now your hand also fits right into the thumb, into the hollow of your hand here.
The left thumb goes down the top right of the shaft, the center right of the shaft. The right hand fits right over the top of the thumb right here. The pad of the thumb fits right over the thumb like this, and it goes into the 2 fingers right here of the right hand. Look at the right thumb. The right thumb doesn't go down the top or over here. It goes over to the left side of them. So basically your left thumb is on the right side of the shaft and your right thumb is on the left side of the shaft. Now the last thing I do with the grip, I want to teach people, is to split the forefinger from the middle finger a little bit on the right hand. That allows you to cradle the golf club a little bit easier without gripping on too tightly.
Most important thing is to place your feet in the proper position. First you set the club head to the ball, then place your left foot for the intended line or direction. And your right foot goes into position. And now the waggle. This is the starter to the backswing. The forward press. And that gets it going just right down the middle where you want it.
And where it drops is usually where your brush is. Did you notice that? In other words, if I get nice and relaxed and let my arms hang, that's where the ball, it seems like that's where the club wants to go where it's supposed to. Don't go pushing it up here or out here. Let the club just drop, and that's how far you should play it away from you. You shouldn't play it out here. You shouldn't play it in here. Just extend your arms after you get in this position and drop them. That's where you should be. If you can't brush it, you can't play. I mean, it's that easy. If you get up over the ball and you take your practice swings, watch this, I'm right here, and you take your practice swings and you're back here, see where that brush was? Back here, and then you get up and expect to hit the ball well, you can just forget it. You have already missed it before you hit it, okay? There's no miracles that are going to happen usually when you get over the ball. That's why it's so important that when you get over the ball, that when you take your practice swing or half swing, that your brush, can you see how that brush was right where it was supposed to be? Right? Perfect. It just started right there, right even with the ball, and brushed afterwards. This brush drill, I believe, in this tape is the handiest drill that there is. It'll help your game quicker than anything I teach you because it's so important. You know, a lot of times you get on the driving range and maybe the range, on this range, it looks like feels like it's tilted about that much from this way to this way. Well, after 6 or 8 balls, I adjust to that, and boy, I start hitting them flush as can be. And then I go on to the first hole, and I drive it right down the middle, and my first lie, the ball's sitting this way a couple inches, then the next hole it's that way, the next hole it's this way, next hole it's whatever, and you're hitting it fat and thin, and you think you're choking. You're not choking, it's just that you haven't learned to adjust to all the different terrains that's part of the game of golf. And that's why this brush drill is so important, because if you get a lie like this, and if you can't brush next to the ball, you're going to hit a bad shot. Same way if you get one of these lies. So when you get in there, and a lot of the pros do this, by the way, and I don't even think they really know what they're doing. They think they're loosening tension, which they are. They're feeling the club shaft, how flexible it is, the overall weight, the head weight. But the one thing you're doing when you do that little half swing brush is you're figuring out where the ground is. And I cannot tell you how important this drill is. Again, if you can just brush it, you can almost come quickly into it then and just brush it right off there. You just brush the ball right off the ground, and you don't have to worry about chunking it and making yourself look like a chop, and and don't embarrass yourself if there's a bunch of people around. A lot of times when I'm chipping over a bunker or chipping over a lake or hitting a 9-iron, so I'll just get in there quickly, do my brush. If I'm a little nervous, I'll just get in there quick and just go ahead and make that same swing. And I know I'm not going to chunk it in the lake or chunk it in the bunker. The more you do this brush, the beauty of it is if you can brush the grass, you'll get rid of this kind of swing action, and you'll get rid of this upswing action because you're not going to be able to brush where the ball is. So a lot of times practice with a tee if you want, and make a line if you can. Make a line on the grass. And what I do is with that line there, let's say the line is right in this area, is I'll brush going away just a little on this side of the line, and then when I come down I want to brush on that other side. See how that divot started right on the line and went afterwards? So if you can do that little drill, that'll really help you big time. Weight is 50-50, knees nice and flexed, a lot like you're going to jump. It's that same position, rear end out, and just move down into it so that you can reach the ground right there in your nice position, head up, okay?
Club across the hips, touch the hip bone with your thumbs, and from there, this is what you should do correctly, which is bend from the hip bone forward, and you're feeling that you're pulling your hamstrings up to your backside, to your glutes, here. And then from there, allow your arms to relax and lower yourself into your knees and ankles, so you've got the ground. The better you have control of the ground, the better you'll have control of everything above the ground. Let your arms relax and then put your club in position. From there, I'm ready to go.
As far as first takeaway, you want to obviously have the face square to the target, by the way. You don't want it open or closed. Have the face square. Shaft angle pretty much 90 degrees to the target here. And if you do those things at address, you should have it in pretty good shape. You'll notice that when I let the club hang down, it's pretty straight line to my left arm. Pretty darn straight line. As far as the takeaway, there's a lot of ways to take it away, but I try to almost take away with the hip, shoulder, and the arm and the hand all in one motion, just sort of push away. I don't go hands and leave the body alone. To me, that takes away from the rhythm of the action. I try to let even my knee and hip, shoulder, arm, and hand all just sort of push away and turn nice and level.
This is the starter to the motor, to the backswing. Watch. I push down, and then I go everything together. Push down, the weight sort of shifts to the left side, down, and then all to go together. You don't get your forward press and then just let it sit there. Once you have your forward press, everything goes away. By doing that, you'll be surprised how much easier the game will be.
So the key position here is halfway back. Check that. Make sure that that club's extended sort of nice. If you want to add a little wrist like I do early, that's fine. And then that's your one key position. Check that. You'll notice your knee now has gone from here to here because you've loaded onto the right side. On the top, your wrist is the same position as you were at address, except for you've added a little bit of this. So watch me at the top of the backswing. I get right here, and now I've added this much wrist action to the ball. See, about a foot of wrist action right there. So you do add about a foot of wrist action here, and now coming down is pretty darn key. You notice my knee's over my right foot here. I'm coiled good. I've got my left shoulder behind the ball, My right side is tucked that way pretty good. It's sort of a falling position. Nicholas said from here, the next movement is a gravity move. You just gravity back to the halfway position. No power is given yet.
Walk up the ball and allow your arms to fall and move. Correct. Correct. But it takes time.
Just very little. It's just gravity is doing a lot of work for you right here. It's picking up speed just through gravity, and now you're in the hitting position.
And reposition for delivery. That's it. Now pressurized step. That's it. Just open up a touch early there, Tom. So the deliveries come slightly out and across. Rehearse the movement again. Really coil up. Reposition for delivery. Whatever delivery we're getting. That's it.
The control elements in the golf swing are the shoulder movement. I ask a lot of players, I say, right, get your shoulder loaded for the golf swing. Right arm up, shoulders loaded, and I say, right, now move the muscle to move the arm. What do they all do? They turn, and that's not moving the muscle. So I'm saying, no, the muscle, the bone stays, the muscle moves, the muscle moves. So really, if I get the control in the muscle, both left and right, correctly, then I'm going to get the movement correct with my arms, which will have hold of the implement that I'm going to hit the ball with. Then, what we're saying is, it's to your own muscle. It's to your own muscle. You know, if you're muscle bound like my son, they won't be able to get it past there. But you lads could be able to, you know, get it a little bit higher and actually what we call load the muscles correctly. Your shoulder goes at right angle, and that's your shoulder muscle loaded up at right angles here. Then we leave the bone alone and we move the muscle. So if this is the club face up there and I move the muscle, what do I have to do with the club face to square it up? Nothing. But if you're up here and you turn, now unfortunately I've got to get the club down. So then I'm trying to manipulate all the way through. So then I'm playing a moving ball game with a stationary ball, which isn't really going to work.
But if you make that delivery position your own, I mean, you can pressurize the shot how you want, left to right, right to left. You can do what you want from there.
You still have the 90 degrees here. You're in good position now. You haven't used a lot of body action yet, and now you're ready for that, what I call sort of a karate move, where in karate it's sort of a move, boom, and that's what happens in golf. You get it up here, you sort of delay things, the arms catch up, the arms are catching up to the body, and right about right here, now you're ready to make a good penetrating, whoom, and hit that wall. If you watch when you hit the wall, you have to go, you get about right here and then it's whoom. So it's in this area that the body really comes alive. It's sort of settling in about right here into a squat position. And then about right here to penetrate into that wall, whoom. And that's where you want it. And you'll notice that the elbow's in. On impact, the elbow is right against that right hip. Right elbow really determines a lot about how the shot's going to fly, okay? If this elbow, again, it's like there's a rod here. This elbow comes down and stops, and then you release here, you're going to be a hooker, okay? If this elbow has a lot of penetration in here, that's going to be pretty straight. If you do like Trevino, where you really lead, you're going to hit a push cut. Okay, so this elbow has a lot to do with it. The other thing is if this elbow pops out, you're going to pull hook it, okay?
every time I move this club off the ground, where does it want to go? Wants to return to the ground. If that natural force is always there, why don't I use it? So when the club starts falling, what does a good pitcher and a good chipper do? They move this left shoulder to put the club in a position where now it's useful to me. This way. Useful. And as it's going to fall to the ground, I keep this left shoulder moving around and up to counteract and use these forces with an equal and opposite reaction in force. So moving the club around where it's useful, letting it fall and moving that left shoulder. So from there I move it around and let it fall. Around and let it fall. And you can see there is not a lot of energy in that. There is just momentum. Because I'm moving the club into a position, I'm now allowed to use my wrist correctly, and I can get more speed without effort. Let the club fall and moves with it. Let the club fall and moves with it. Okay? So I'm using the club's energy. I'm not muscling it. I'm not muscling it.
When you hook it, your elbow's probably trailing, or your body stops and you're hitting this way, or you're trying to hit too much with the hands. So think about the wall, the sheetrock, and a couple of those other tips, and especially that one where you stop after impact. Take the picture in your mind of where square is after there and then get in quickly and hit it. I just take it back right here, and right there I stop at the club face square and hold it for 2 or 3 seconds. And even look at my knee action, look at where my elbow's pointing when the club face is square, make an imprint like a click in my mind, and then I just quickly get up and just do the same thing. Boom! Pretend there's an arrow going right through my wrist. There's a hole in your wrist here. Points pretty much at the ball, okay? Pointing right at the ball. What most people do is the arrow now, of course, is pointing right here. Somewhere when you get in here, you got to get that arrowhead now to go back to the ball or even lead. And so what you want to do is lead with this part of your wrist and have this part behind. What most of you do is you're leading big time with this part, or right at the last minute, you just flip the club like that. And of course, like I said, you're going to hit up on the ball or hit behind it or something from there, and that's not a good way. So watch this. I'm going to try to hit a few of these. I'm going to make that arrow point right at the ball, thumb point at the ball. Come down here, I'm waiting, and then I'm going to hit the left side of the range by almost leading that way. And overdo it at first. Palm it down too much at first. And watch you do. What I'll do is I'll get right in here. Watch this, right here, here. Turn it over. You see, and now you see that ball hooking right at the pin right there, just right on the money. I can overdo it and hit it more that way. Same motion. My elbow's in tight here, and then I'm here, more, and I can just turn it over more. And of course, it helps if the club's leaning this way. Of course, the ball's going to hook more than normal. If you really cross it over, you'll end up with the club way over here. It looks sort of bad, but it does keep the ball going left.
Learn how to move the body properly before they actually put the club in the hand. And if you do that, the movement just becomes automatic for you. And if you actually did 15 minutes working that a day, you would improve massively of the correct movement. You have to spiral your body and spiral your shoulders, so you get in a position where your arms and your club are actually naturally coming down to move where the ball is. So you can improve on 15 minutes a day, but most people out there won't do it. If I asked you if you've done 15 minutes physical work every day of your life for the last 5 years, who's done it? So if you won't help to prolong your life by 5 or 10 years just by doing 15 minutes exercise, why would you do it for golf? That's why really they struggle to improve. Because you want his hips to move this way, move this way.